Here we are, and welcome to an action-packed edition of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This week, we have with us legends of the podcasting world, and specifically legends of the DC podcasting world. We've got Brian and Tony from the Take Two podcast, which, among many things, is the official CW podcast, or the official podcast covering the CW for DC, but they also cover tons of other awesome pop culture stuff. So we will get to them in a moment, but this is a big episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. But before we get into that, I got to welcome my sisters, hear how they're doing. Becky, how are you doing?
Sorry, big yawn there. We're having a sleep regression.
You've already nodded
still.
off during this episode.
Yes, having a sleep regression still over at this house. Don't remember where we were the last time we podcasted, but I've reached peak zombie mode. But you know,
Mombi
surviving
mode.
Mombi.
Oh, that's good. I like
as
that.
they say.
I like that. I'm Mombi. New show.
There's a reason they make babies so cute. Because she better be stinking cute when she wakes me up at 3 a.m. But yeah, that's how I'm doing. There's no further comment.
Cool. All right. Now, Lily is reporting from a major family event, which is anytime our parents visit one of us. It has probably been nonstop shenanigans.
It has been. But I'm just going to cut to the chase. So I'm watching Aquaman with mom and dad. Dad pieced out, like he went to sleep immediately because that movie's terrible. Oh. And mom was like,
"Love that movie."
You should believe that part,
Shy. I've ever seen. Anyways, the point is that I'm watching with mom and dad on this version that Shy had in Plex, which, if for people who didn't go to MIT, Plex is this like server that Shy invented for himself. We call it Shy Tunes, and everything that Shy has ever owned, like even a video that you sent him on his phone, is in there. It's quite wild. But he had a version of Aquaman in there, but the problem is that Jose, my husband, needs to watch stuff with subtitles because he can't. It's hard for him to understand the English because he's Spanish, and so the subtitles on this Aquaman were not synced up. So the subtitles in Spanish, like on the bottom of the screen, were coming like in 10 seconds before the people were talking. And I go to mom. I was like, Mom, I think we just need to go and just buy it on iTunes and not watch it in ShyTunes because this is like ridiculous. And he's reading it. He knows what's going to happen before it happens. And mom's like, they are synced up. And I go, no, Mom, my mom speaks Spanish and reads Spanish perfectly. She's like, no, they are synced up. Watch. And she rewinds a little bit of the scene. And it's a scene where Nicole Kidman is talking to the husband when she first meets him. And she's just sitting there. And there's words on the bottom of the screen. Nicole Kidman is not speaking. And then she's going to speak in about 10, 15 seconds. And mom goes, it's her interior monologue, guys. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, no, it's not. What? She's going to speak in 15 seconds. I go, no, that's what she's thinking. I was like, Mom, that's not how subtitles work. I was kissing myself. It was amazing. We ended up having to switch and to watch it on iTunes because it was unbearable to watch the subtitles.
Best $20 you've ever spent, right?
Ever. Just to watch that movie with mom was worth the millions it took to make that piece of poo. It was so great to watch it with her. Second really funny mom story, we are talking about ensemble casts, which is what this podcast today, we're going to be talking about that. So last night at dinner, we're talking about all these ensemble casts, great movies and stuff. And there is a conversation between mom and dad where dad is talking about Saving Private Ryan, and mom is talking about the 80s Goldie Hawn movie, Private Benjamin. And they are having a conversation where they are arguing, but mom does not realize she has the wrong movie. It was incredible. Mom's
very similar.
Goldie Hawn is the protagonist. That's she's not in the goddamn movie. What are you talking about? It was amazing.
That is incredible.
So it's been wild.
And that is incredible, yes. And today we're going to talk about ensemble cast. We're going to talk about Triple Frontier. But first, we're going to introduce Tony and Brian from Take Two. Tony and Brian, welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey.
So Take Two, we are listeners of Take Two. You are also part of the All-Star Comic-Con family like us. We'll all be down there in June, this coming June. But tell us a little bit about where Take Two came from and what you guys cover and what people can tune in to hear. You have so many great bits. Like, I thought we had good bits, and then you guys are just like chock full of bits.
Well, Take Two started 2.5 years ago, and it was actually Brian's brainchild more than mine. I was brought on as a guest host and then kind of joined the fold after that. But I think it was probably about our 1.5 mark that we really started to pick up and be like, well, we have more time, we have more things we want to talk about. So we kind of started doing all those little spin-offs and specialty episodes and all that. So we started off as just your weekly movie news and review show, but then it kind of snowballed into so much more than that. So yeah, now we do a weekly CW show. We have guys on our team that do a wrestling show every week. We have Brian and I do Spotlight, where we take one actor or director and just look at their whole filmography and do a whole episode about that. So we do, we're all over the map. We do a lot of stuff, but it's all very much movie related, a lot of fun, and we're always trying to expand and do different things.
Podcasting's addicting. That's what we found out.
Absolutely.
Well, Shy knows that for sure. he feels you. And I have to say, I really liked the Spotlight episode where you guys did the Timothy Chalamet.
Mm-hmm. That was actually probably our most popular one.
And Lucas Hedges, because even though they're so young, I feel like they're amazing
not
actors.
Just like so accomplished, like what they've done, the films they've been in are so impressive.
Sure. So we're
and they
trying
have like
to,
all these weird crossovers that you guys kept bringing up in the episode.
Yeah, so we're trying to kind of highlight some of that, not just established people, but maybe some up and comers, or even we're going back and trying to do some like in memoriam episodes every once in a while too, like people have passed on. So yeah, we're trying to keep it fresh and just come up with different ideas. And hey, anytime you want to recommend somebody, we may consider that as a episode we'll do as well. So
yay.
Right.
Careful what you allow us to send you.
Yeah.
Obviously, it won't be the script writer of Aquaman won't be getting a spotlight anytime soon.
No.
And I take it you won't take my consistent recommendation for pretty much any TV show, which is or talk show or concept, which is Rachel Bilson.
I was going to say Rachel Bilson is definitely coming.
Rachel Bilson.
But I feel like Zachary Levi might be getting some form of recognition soon, and he's your other Rachel Bilson, Shay.
Yeah, he is.
He's my Rachel Bilson.
I was a huge fan of him from back in the Chuck days. I don't know if you watched Chuck.
Did we watch?
I watched.
We live and breathe Chuck in this house.
I haven't finished it yet, but I am a Chuck fan, so I don't want to know the ending.
Becky and I watched it, and Becky had the similar reaction that I did to the last episode, which is like just emotional.
It was very difficult. I mean, granted, I watched it while I was on maternity leave, so there were a lot of hormones, a lot of feelings, but I needed like multiple therapy sessions with Shy after the series finale. I mean, I would say that show got me through having a baby.
It's a fantastic show, a very, very fun show, and I feel like he definitely, I guess a little bit of teaser here that we were able to see Shazam pre-screener last night, and he definitely brings that same energy from Chuck into this role, and anytime he's on the screen, it really makes the movie that much better.
Oh, that's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed to hear. I can't wait.
Okay, so there's your teaser for later in the show. Let's get to our main review. We all watched the Netflix film Triple Frontier, and
or Triple Frontera.
Oh, is that what it's called in Spain?
It is being marketed widely across my city, which is weird. Like, those like standing announcement like billboards that are on the street. I don't know if you guys have those. They like at a bus stop, for example, right? But for us, it'll be like in the middle of the sidewalk. They have one of those like announcing different things. That movie has paid for the entire city to have every single one of those, and they're all the different characters, as if this is like an Avengers movie coming out. I think Netflix is just banking that everybody in this city sees it to get their money back. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
it's very popular.
No, you're right. I mean, my wife, she actually just asked me about the movie yesterday. She's like, when's that movie coming out? I'm like, it's on Netflix. She's like, oh, I thought it was coming to the theater. Like the way they're advertising it, as like, and it is really a big blockbuster film that probably would have done well in the theater or would have been a better experience seeing it on a big screen.
By his wife, Tony actually meant me because we had the exact same conversation a week ago, too. I thought it was tears. And no, buddy, it's on Netflix.
Well played. So now I want to turn to my sisters because I want to ask them. This is often I like to do when a movie sometimes is missing some elements before we give our full impressions. What happened in this movie, Lily and Becky? Can you guys tell me what happened?
I mean, like, as in, you want to know narrative, like the plot structure of what happened, or like what happened?
No, just generally, if you were to tell someone, like, go see Triple Frontier, here's what happened in the movie.
That's how the conversation would go. Someone would say, what? It wouldn't start with go see Triple Frontier. If I was starting the conversation.
Quickly, 5 ex-military guys go to South America, rob a cartel, and try to get out of South America with $200 million. That's what it's about.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Perfect.
All right. That's all I needed to hear. Now I'll go over to the Take Two guys. What did you guys think of the movie?
Brian, go ahead, because I don't even know your thoughts on it yet. We haven't talked about it, so go ahead.
I felt the first hour of the film was fantastic. I could not take my eyes off of the screen. That's my son in the background. He loved the movie, too. So. But I thought it chugged along real quick, real fast, hot and heavy, and I was enjoying every minute of it. Then the pacing kind of slowed down a little bit, and I just kind of stuck with it to find out what happened in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off what you said, I thought it was a very enjoyable film. I enjoyed my time with it. It was a great action movie. I did think where it failed was some of the character development. I think they tried too much to develop the characters up front and make you care, but then you get to the point where it's all more about their greed and they're not as altruistic as maybe they want you to think they are, and I think that's where it failed. But I did enjoy myself with the movie. I liked it.
Agreed.
Okay. Lil?
Well, I don't know if you guys agree with this, that context is everything. Mm-hmm. So I watched this movie in a hotel, like, where I had nothing else to watch. It was just this movie, and I was with my folks late at night, and it was exactly what I expected. You know what I mean? It was good enough for, like, a bunch of good-looking guys, action, Oscar Isaac, stuck in a little Spanish. I'm like, I'm good with that for a Saturday night, hold up in a hotel room kind of situation.
Sure.
If I spent $25 at the movie theater, or a bunch of money on iTunes to see it, I'd probably be pissed. But if it's a part of your Netflix package, I don't think you can complain too much. I think it could have been so much better. And I think that's what annoys my siblings and a lot of other people, is that it really could have been a great movie. And it was just sort of like, it was good enough. And you kind of can't get a cast like that together and not infuriate people if it's not going to be great.
Sure.
So, I think it has that, those faults to it. But it was good enough for me.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why it ended up on Netflix anyways, is because, I mean, if you looked into the history of it a little bit, it was kind of a developmental hell for about 8 years. So I think originally it would have been a big screen movie, and if different people been involved, it may have got there. But I think, like I said, the story at the end of the day is what kind of got me. Like, you're supposed to kind of feel for some of these characters, and they don't make you want to feel for it. Like, you just don't care about them as much as you should. So the emotional moments don't hit. So.
Right. I would say the movie itself, if there was better character development or any character development or any motivation I believed in, then I would have loved this movie. I would have forgiven, any of the other things, because I feel like the world within it was living was really cool. I like the style of, like, the way it was shot. It was it had some great beats in it, but I had such a difficult time with these characters, none of whom I kind of liked Oscar Isaac Pope character a little bit, but none of whom I really liked. There was no real their motivation for going on this mission was very one-dimensional, as everyone knows. Character development is the number one criteria for Cormans except for Lily, when watching a show. So even though we might watch our gutter palette shows, they're gutter palette shows with great character development.
I think Brian's point is that at the beginning it's there.
Right.
I think it gets to the beginning where they don't have money, they were in the military, they want something for themselves, and then it doesn't.
I'll buy it. They set you up with like there's enough of a setup where you think, okay, once these guys get on the mission, and we're going to go in deep with them, we're going to really learn about like their dynamics and their brotherhood and, what drives each of them, and then they're going to evolve over the course of this mission as things go wrong, and just like none of that happens. But yes, they do initially set it up as if there's going to be some better character-driven storytelling.
And instead of, I don't know, spoilers for people, but instead of the helicopter going down because they were just dumb and like that was so not believable because they just didn't throw enough bags of money out.
It's just like the scene before when he's like, this helicopter can't carry that money. We're going to carry it. Well, okay, I guess we'll try.
I guess we'll try to bring double the amount of money that we thought we were going to bring in the first place. That was so dumb. And why couldn't like Oberyn, Pedro Pascal, he's Oberyn from Game of Thrones. He'll always be Oberyn to me. And from Narcos. He's great in Narcos.
Yes, he is.
Pedro Pascal, why couldn't he just like turn on them? There's a fight in the helicopter because he's a traitor. And then it goes down because of that. Like something just cooler.
So you're just making up things that have nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that was a crucial moment in the movie where it went south.
Yeah,
that's all.
I just think it started out, like you said, with well intentions, and you kind of want to like these people, but then greed takes over, and no one is redeemable, really. And then at the end, you're supposed to kind of think this character is a hero, almost, that they all like give their money to, whatever. And it's like, really, he wasn't a likable guy.
No,
so
part of why they got into trouble was he murdered a whole village on his own.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Oscar Isaac? Well, sorry. Go ahead, Shay.
No, I was gonna say I agree with everything everyone's been saying. I really did enjoy the first hour. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Oh, maybe I'm very critical of the Netflix films. I like the Netflix. I don't mind the Netflix films, but I wouldn't say I fully side with Steven Spielberg. But the idea that these are art films versus their shows, which I think are higher quality, I have issues. But so I agree with what everyone's saying. In that first hour, I was intrigued. It had like a Hurt Locker feel, which is interesting because it does kind of trace back to Catherine Bigelow. Mm-hmm. But I would say the biggest surprising moment, and I was clocking this in my notes on the movie, was at an hour and 30 minutes, Garrett Hedlund still hadn't been killed. And at an hour and 35, an hour and 40,
that's what I said to Mom. I was like, and to Hosa, I was like, well, I'm just waiting. When is that brother going to die?
Yeah, and
like he's the least famous of his cast.
And the last movie I saw him in was Four Brothers, and I'm pretty sure he's in it to be the brother who dies. So I really thought that this was just Garrett Hedlund gets cast as like the younger crazy brother who dies.
Can we just take a moment to talk about how, I mean, for me, with the exception of Affleck, and I don't have such a problem with Affleck if it's in the right role, how amazing this cast was.
Yeah.
Like Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund, Oberyn, like amazing. Yeah. Like I needed to see this movie because these guys were in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it kind of like broke my heart a little bit to be like the dialogue is so poor and lazy. Like it felt so lazy, and I wasn't even sure if they were.
Appreciate like what it takes to make a good film.
Yes, it does make you appreciate how difficult screenwriting probably is. And I
just need to know, guys, yes or no, everybody quickly, does Oscar Isaac go back for the money?
I think so. I think maybe that's going to be a sequel that they want to push, honestly. I mean, that's the way they lay it out, you know.
I'd watch that sequel. And
I think the sequel will be better.
And similarly, if this was a show and this was the end of season 1,
yeah,
and the characters
would have played better.
I would totally watch this show with more time to develop and build those moments. Like Ben Affleck's character kind of flips really quickly. And I think I like Affleck a lot, actually, and so as an actor, I think he gets a hard time sometimes. I would have liked to have seen that build, that slowly going crazy and that desperation.
Well, because I think he also has PTSD in there that they gloss over.
But again,
quick.
None of this was really unpacked. They just sort of give you a line here, a line there, and you're not, and you need a little bit more backstory.
Yeah. And maybe that's Shy, you're onto something. Yeah, I think if we would have got maybe some scenes of their time in the military together, that would have helped.
So this would have been, a great Netflix series potentially, where they could like take their time and, really grow each storyline.
Yeah. I mean, the whole
Normally
time
we're
I was
complaining.
watching it, it reminded me of Three Kings. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie.
Absolutely.
that movie.
100%.
That movie's great.
And
Okay, so people want
that's a superior movie.
Yeah, people want a great.
Oh yeah,
version
no,
of
that's an
Three
excellent
Kings.
film.
That movie's awesome. We saw that in the.
I feel like we
at
need
Friday
a
night
little
movie.
more Clooney in our lives.
There
Like,
you
where's
go.
George Clooney?
Again,
He may be the only person who wasn't maybe in the cast at one point.
That's a good point.
Okay, let's do one of our things we like to do is we like to give our MVPs and our LVPs. So our most valuable performance or performer and our least valuable performance or performer. As much as we were a little bit negative on this movie, it's not for the sake of being mean. It's just we like the contrast. So does anyone have one off the top of their head that they've been thinking about that they want to share?
I mean, my MVP for me would have to be Oscar Isaac, just because I feel like he's the only one who's somewhat redeemable as a character. I feel like.
agreed.
Brian, how about you?
Are we spoilers here? Are we okay with spoiler? No.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
unlike
sure.
podcasts
Spoilers
that are
city,
really
okay.
really conscious of spoilers, we have no ability to do that. So just everything on this podcast is spoiler warning.
Okay, so speak for. I think my least valuable performance was the death of the main bad guy. It just kind of like happened.
Oh yeah.
He was just like hiding behind the dresser, and then boom, he's
Oh
gone.
yeah.
True. Yeah.
And then
So
Isaac just
easy.
like, he's like, "Did you get him? Yeah, I got him. Okay, let's go." Like, wait, what was that the main bad? That was it? Oh, all right, we got it. Let's go.
That's a good point.
Right, I feel like in other movies, even if that's not going to be the climax of the film, they would draw that out and make it more dramatic and dangerous because they're sort of tricking you into thinking, oh, this is like the climax. In this case, they didn't even try to trick us.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, all right, we're done.
Well, I
Next.
had to convince mom and dad that was a bad guy. I was like, no, that was it. They're like, that's impossible. I'm like, apparently not. That was just it.
You know what else? You know what else I didn't like was that they kind of played up Garrett Hedlund's character, this MMA fight, whatever, and then we didn't get to see him fight.
Yeah, I
That's
thought
a
about
good
that
point.
too. I
I
thought
was
about
like,
that.
you were about to show it, and then you just cut away.
Yeah.
I was like, give me that fight scene.
No, but I would also watch the show with Garrett Hedlund and Charlie Hunnam as brothers, that are like MMA fighters during the week and go on like A-team style missions on the weekend.
I mean, 100%. And then also, wouldn't you think that because they set him up as like an MMA fighter in that moment, that would then come into play later in some like incredible physical fight?
That-
He had to
that-
have a-
that would be a
Why
good
did they go to his fight? Like, what's the point of them being at his
So
fight?
it's like, thanks for that moment, but again, and you guys know I'm very attached to this. If you show me a gun in the first act, you better use it in the third.
Well,
or use it in the second.
they did show Charlie Hunnam's remembering of numbers. So okay, MVP. Back. Brian, did you have an MVP?
I have a combined MVP, and it actually fits perfectly into Hedlund because he and Affleck both took one shot to the head.
All right, and Becky, how about you?
For my MVP
Your
or
MVP
LVP?
and your LVP.
Well, I agree that Oscar Isaac's my MVP because he's like the kind of I think the most well-rounded of the characters. My LVP is like every moment is not just the Affleck character, but every moment in which he all of a sudden becomes like psychotically more greedy, and it feels like it's not rooted in anything. So,
all right.
yeah, it felt like it was just
How about
My
you?
MVP is Oscar Isaac. You didn't ask me, but I'm just going. My MVP is Oscar Isaac because I love how he's just going between the Spanish and the English. Like, hello.
Yes, hello.
Like, that was
Amazing.
Great.
Do you guys know I once met Oscar Isaac? Did I ever tell you this story?
What?
I've heard this story.
Yeah, I met him. I was at a screening for A Most Violent Year, which, by the way, is such a great movie.
Same director.
Same director, right?
Yep.
And it's such a great movie. I was at a screening at Skywalker Sound, I guess, and he was there. And I went up to him, and I'd been eating a lot of cheese, so I was also like chewing a bunch of like cheese and crackers at the time. It wasn't my best food. I was very hungry, and I kind of like cornered him, and I was so excited, and I was telling him how I'd seen like Llewyn Davis 4 times, and I loved it so much, and he was so kind, but he gave me that look of like, ooh, she seems a little crazy. I'm just gonna take 2 steps backwards as she talks to me. me. But he was so polite while I acted like a crazy fan.
That's awesome.
I was waiting for your story to start. I was in the desert and his plane crashed. And then I took his jacket.
My MVP.
My LVP is Oberyn for not flying that fucking helicopter over the mountain. That was the only purpose of him being on the mission.
So
see, and that could have been a better twist too. If they would have crashed, and then this would have become like an Alive type situation, like having to survive.
That's what I was hoping for when they crashed.
So wait, if it was an Alive situation, who do you think should have been eaten?
Oh, Affleck for sure.
Affleck.
Well, Affleck's the meatiest. Yeah. He's definitely the meatiest.
Yeah.
So my MVP was, in fact, Pedro Pascal, was Oberyn. I really enjoyed him in the movie. I don't know why I did. I was surprised that he was in it.
He's delicious. He's such a great
I forgot
actor.
that he was in it, and he's an actor who's really grown on me. But I couldn't really figure out that character, so I spent a lot of time watching him, being like, well, what's going to happen to him? Is he, So I really liked him, and I would say I'll agree with Becky on it wasn't an individual character per se, but the Affleck sort of crazy moments were hard to take. Tony, you didn't have an LVP. You're not required to have one, but if you have one,
just that moment of like I said, the Garrett Hedlund fight didn't come about. That's my LVP, I guess.
Got it. Okay. Now this movie brings on like a bigger question, I think, in the movie world. And Take Two, you guys have a segment called the Stream Warrior, right? Stream Warrior. Yeah,
that's sadly me. Usually I'm the guy who watches like 10 things every week, so they get sick of hearing all my reviews.
So you are... Well, anyways, I think it's a great part of the show because streaming is how many people watch the shows. There is a bigger question right now going on in the entertainment industry is, should Netflix movies be considered like Oscars, or are these really just direct-to-video movies that wouldn't have otherwise made it? And then anyways, anyone have any reactions or thoughts on Netflix's films versus, let's say, Amazon's films, right?
Well, I think at the end of the day, film is subjective. I mean, so it depends on each film. You got to look at it a case-by-case basis, I think. And I think the only difference between Amazon, Netflix, whatever, and how much they've been considered for awards has just been their distribution models. Amazon has been doing it in a more reasonable way to be accepted in the overall film community, whereas Netflix is like, nope, we're not putting them in the theaters, or if we are, we're not telling you how much they made or whatever, whereas Amazon is like, oh, well, these are our movies, we're going to put them out for a couple months, then we'll put them streaming. So I think that's why they've had more success as far as being nominated and winning awards. But I definitely think some films are warranted of being up for Oscars. They're much more than a direct-to-DVD or direct-to-TV movie, in my opinion.
Okay.
But do you think they should have a run in a theater first?
Well, they do. I mean, the ones that have been nominated do it.
But like
the
real
one. Saying like part of the criteria for being nominated for an Oscar
like
that you have to have. I don't mean like a fake run
like Roma had, where they can't report any box office. Like there's no box office reports available. It was in a theater in a mall for 5 minutes just so they could be considered.
It's the minimum so that they can be
right. That's not the same as like actually doing a run and then letting it stream.
Well, I wonder if that defeats the purpose of their business model, though, because if they do that, then they're not making money, So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely an evolutionary thing. It's going to keep changing, and I think there's definitely a good discussion out there, but I don't know.
When it comes to like Oscar nominations, I think you have to have, or award nominations, you have to have some sort of criteria because there's so much content out there. In order to be able to like decide what to even consider, you have to have certain, I think, benchmarks that a film hits, whether that's like a run in a festival or in a special like award that you win in a festival, or maybe not a theatrical run, but something, because there's just so much content out there. How would you narrow it down? I don't know.
I get what Spielberg is saying, and I respect what he's saying, obviously, about, right, like he's saying it's ruining films, right, Shai? Am I paraphrasing that?
I mean,
like the fact that it's not fair that does anybody want to comment on Spielberg, what he's saying?
Brian, why don't you get into this?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think Spielberg, unfortunately, is coming off as the grumpy old man, get off my lawn.
Exactly, right, exactly.
Point. But you have to, like Tony especially, and a lot of people are saying it, and you just mentioned that, is that there's so much content and there is good content. So we do need to find a happy medium here. Personally, I would love for these films to all have some type of a run, a month, give it a month. Find that instead of just 2 weekends in New York, LA, as it is now, give me something where it does have to have a national run. They'll find a medium, not 3 months like Spielberg wants. And like your original question of do these count, there's some great films on Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, and then there's some trash. So we can just find the middle because there is so much content.
Right. And
like,
to be
the
fair,
amount of trash that there's in the movie theaters, if that Trolls movie was able to go into the theater, like, give me a break.
Or what was the one you saw, Shy? Dog show.
Listen here, Show Dogs was a treasure. Will Arnett acting with CGI
Like,
animals.
it's not like there's not schlocky pieces of shit in the theater. The problem is that, Roma, like Spielberg wants, Roma to be in the theater for 3 months. Well, that movie may not have ever even made it with the budget. You know what I mean? And that film maybe never would have. I mean, a director's extraordinarily famous. I find it hard to believe, but it's still an interesting conundrum of like the way things are with the theaters and stuff. Maybe that movie never could have been made otherwise, and it's a beautiful film. So
sure. And then you have someone. I mean, Spielberg is kind of maybe making the claim also that these films should be up for Emmys instead. But then if you go that route, then you're pushing out some of the things that are being created for TV that should be considered there. That's their home. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No,
and I don't want to push for a third
there.
award show or something, like we need the streamies. I don't know.
The streamies.
although soon enough with Disney, right? So that's a really big question to ask. You're going to have, within the year, we're going to have Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus.
And right? Apple's jumping into original content.
And Apple.
And YouTube. And YouTube.
Oh, right. And YouTube already exists.
YouTube Red.
And so.
And Netflix is raising prices.
Sorry, and did we say that Disney's also opening their own streaming service?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
we said that.
Yeah. We said that. Sorry, I missed that.
Are you on this call, Beck?
You guys everyone was naming things at once. It was like Apple, Hulu, Amazon. I was like.
So my point is, we grew up in a world with 4 networks, right? 3 networks, 2 networks if you lived in Canada, because we just had
CDV shout out.
And now we're going to have like 4 or 5 big streaming services. They almost might deserve their own award system soon.
And not to mention, I mean, how many years has HBO or these other cable channels dominated, like the Emmys and stuff like that? So you have so many more networks, providing good content. I think we're the ones that are winning are the consumers because we have so many different choices. And I feel like Spielberg, it looks like he's trying to die on this hill. This is his argument, and I think he's going to die there because you have people like Scorsese and Alfonso Cuarón who are going to Netflix, who are going to Hulu. So they're changing with the times. He needs to.
Brian's right where he does making himself sound like this cranky old man. Like, it's not a good look for him.
I think you guys have turned me around on this. In fact, if I think about the music industry, right? The music industry took so long to adapt to the world of streaming and buying music digitally, and in the end, that's where we are. And those who went that direction are the ones that are still around.
Yeah. I mean, because even look at just the production of Blu-rays and things like that. No one buys things like that anymore. They all just own digital files. Like Samsung is actually stopping creating Blu-ray players. So,
really?
Yeah, they're the first major one to stop doing that. So everything's going digital, and I think Mr. Spielberg needs to jump along.
And I think I'll give my brother credit. He is with or ahead of the times by creating his own server. That is the way of the future.
And let's be clear, it is all with media.
If you have not gone to MIT,
I want to be
you won't
clear.
understand it.
It is all with media that I own. I am not.
We know. You're not a pirater.
I am not a pirater. I do not.
Wait a minute, you didn't take any videos of you and I when we were out, did you? Is that on Plex?
No.
Everything is on Plex. There's a live cam of his house right now, and you can just watch it on Plex, like Big Brother.
That it's a little more complicated, my siblings. Okay, let's I think one of the things Tony and I talked about when we were out at the All-Star Comic-Con holiday party was our love of nostalgia and the fact that we get to play in the world of nostalgia on this show quite a bit because the show is tied to our childhood. So to bring us into talking to some classic All-Star cast movies, which whether or not Triple Frontier is a classic, it is definitely an all-star cast. We're going to play the signature game of Friday Night Movie, which is called Buy, Rent, or Meh. And you can with the asterisk that if you want to throw in a bleh, you can, which is and a buy. So we're going to present everyone with 3 choices. There's 5 of us, so we're not all going to go for each round if we're going to get through this. So. So if you feel strongly, and you must assign a value to each one of these 3 choices that's either buy, rent, or meh. And buy means you love the movie, you want to own it, you'd buy it digitally perhaps, maybe not on Blu-ray. Rent is you would rent it, which can sometimes mean stream it in this day and age. And then meh can be anything from it was fine, I saw it on streaming, to meh, I hated it. It really depends on how you define your meh. So you have a lot of different options, and you are forced to choose, even though I guarantee you Lily will not follow the rules at any moment during this game. So given that,
Tough but fair.
Brian and Tony, do you guys got this? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm in.
Sweet. All right, so our first category, going in the theme with Triple Frontier, are suicide mission movies. And we're going to go back, we're going to hit a few different eras with this. We've got Navy SEALs, Michael Biehn, Charlie Sheen, Dennis Haysbert, I think Bill Paxton too. You got The Dirty Dozen, which is, epic classic, Jim Brown, Lee Marvin, Cassavetes, right? I'm not mixing that up, right? I think I got all the right people. And then you've got Inglourious Bastards, Turds, the one that Tarantino made with Aldo Rain. Brad Pitt.
Yep.
Brad Pitt, Eli Roth, a bunch of other Jews of various size. So for us in our family, all stars for sure, because we're very attached to all the Jewish actors. So buy, rent, or meh, those three movies.
I'll jump in first with Inglourious Bastards as my buy. I'm a huge Tarantino guy. I love Brad Pitt in this movie. I love Christoph Waltz in this movie. Fassbender, everybody in the movie is great. I love this movie. Dirty Dozen is a classic, so I would put that on my rent. And then Navy SEALs I just haven't seen probably since it came out, so meh.
Okay, bold. How about you, Brian?
I love how decisive you are. Can I just say you're really speaking my language with no hesitation.
There you go. Got to do it. Commit.
All
I'll
right.
just completely echo. I'll echo Tony's. I'll make it easy because mine are the exact same as his on that one.
Oh, wow, bold. All right. Becky, how about you?
Let me get back to the list here. I've only seen Inglourious Bastards out of the whole three, so I'm gonna pass. I guess I'll buy that one.
Okay.
I'll agree with our guests.
I don't know if I'm going to spend time with Lily on this one at all. I have to buy Inglourious Bastards because it's a hard movie for me to rewatch because, the brilliance of that movie is that Tarantino shows you if he wanted to make a great World War II movie that wasn't a Tarantino movie, he could, and so it's very emotional. And then Christoph Waltz is one of the all-time greatest acting performances I've ever seen is in that movie. I'm going to rent Navy SEALs. I have tremendous affection for that movie. I know it's super dated and kind of ridiculous, but I watched it so many times as a kid, and I loved that whole Michael Biehn, Charlie Sheen dynamic. And then I'm going to meh Dirty Dozen, not because it isn't a classic, but I saw it so much later than for it to have become a movie that ingrained in me that it just doesn't it's more of a genre of movie than it is an actual movie that has any meaning to me. All right, let's hit the capers. All right, we got The Italian Job, Ocean's 11, and Ocean's 8.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
All right, Beck, hit us with some decisiveness.
Okay, I'm going to buy Ocean's 11 because I feel like they're all very
but I just want to
charming.
confirm we're talking Brad Pitt, Ocean's 11, not Frank Sinatra.
Oh, I'm talking Brad Pitt.
Pitt.
Okay.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. That movie is so charming. So I'm buying Ocean's 11. I'm renting The Italian Job because I remember it being really fun and... Isn't Seth Green in it? I feel like that's
Seth Green is in it.
He
isn't
wants the speakers that blow women's clothes off.
Right, and there's a whole... I'm not going to get into it, but there's I feel like that... Anyways, I'll love that. Yeah, rent that. And I'm going to meh Ocean's 8, which makes me a bit sad, but I haven't seen it because it looks so meh. But I probably will realistically rent it, but it's not on my rent list.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you, exactly.
I'm with you on that, except I'm going to bleh Ocean's 8. I'm full on bleh.
You did see it? Because I
did see it, and my disappointment makes me furious. I was furious at them.
Wrong. I don't understand.
I don't know. I need you to watch it back from your, film production perspective. Tell me where it went wrong. Is it the script? Is it the acting? Is it that I feel like they had so much fun making the movie. This is my theory. They had so much fun making this movie, the girls together, that they maybe didn't pay attention to that. They should have put that energy not into the outtakes, but into the film. I don't know what happened, but it's not good. It's not a good movie. No.
Brian, do you want in on this one?
I can't disagree with you guys. I'm sorry. I was gonna switch it up just to argue, but I don't want to get yelled at. So I agree all around.
All right, let's go a little classic here. Let's go hit some westerns. We've got the Magnificent Seven, Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen,
the
Chris
original,
Pratt.
not the Chris Pratt one, which is I think a cool movie, by the way. I think it's an acceptable.
Oh, that changes my vote.
No, but we're talking the original, which
Steve McQueen.
In our family, the Magnificent Seven, the original is a big deal. It's our dad's favorite movie. He plays the soundtrack for us all the time. He has posted.
I was going to say, that's great soundtrack.
It's then you got Young Guns, Emilio Estevez, his brother Carlos, and
Carlos Sheen.
Yeah, and who else you got on that one? You got Lou Diamond Phillips, Kiefer Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of the McDermott Mulroney guys, and then Silverado. Which is, of course, the vehicle for Danny Glover, Kevin Costner at a young age, Kevin Kline, Scott Glenn, and some Goldblum. It's got some Goldblum in there. So this is a heavy-duty category. Who wants to be bold and step forward?
I'm just shocked that there's no Brad Pitt movie. I mean, what are we doing here? I would go Magnificent Seven just because it is the classic. I'm going to rent Young Guns 2, though, because I like Young Guns 2 more than 1.
Ooh, all right. Playing with the format here.
Playing your own rules there.
Yeah, I am. I'm changing it up. And then, what was the other one? I forgot the other one.
Silverado.
Oh, so yeah, that's actually a favorite of my wife's. I'll give it a meh.
Okay.
Oh, how sweet of you.
Yeah, sorry.
Brian, how about you?
All right, so I had to change my vote because I had this as the recent Mag 7, and so I'm going to move it around because I had Young Guns winning. But if we're going classic, I'm going to agree with your dad. We're going to put the classic Mag 7 number 1, and then I'm sticking with Young Guns 1. It's better than Part 2. I don't care what Tony says.
I'm with you, Brian, on Young Guns 1. Young Guns 1 is also the more historically accurate.
Part 2 has John Bon Jovi. Hello. I'm sorry.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I disagree.
And a very wily Christian Slater, but I'm with Brian.
All right.
And so you med Silverado?
Oh, yeah, sorry. But Silverado comes with 30. It gets meh.
All right.
Unless I can put the recent Mag 7 in its place, and then I'll mess that just so I can grab it on a rainy day.
Okay, that's fair. Lily and Becky?
Well, I agree with everybody. I'm just going to say that the reason that I have to rent Young Guns and mess Silverado, which is an excellent movie, and any bit of Goldblum, I'm a huge fan, but I have to rent Young Guns because you made us watch it so many times. Yeah, it's
when you were very young.
Brain.
Like, I saw that movie when I was 9.
So I was 6.
Yeah, so I missed that era. I was too little. I've never seen it, or I don't remember.
But I love that. It's just there's one of those things where you just don't know if it's something that's good or bad, but you love it so much from your child, so it's like an emotional attachment. So.
So for me, I got to tell you, first of all, these are 3 of my favorite movies. So we've put me in a tough situation here. My buy in this group is Silverado. That is just one of my favorite movies ever. I love that cast. I love the humor of it in there. Written and directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who did Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. I don't feel like that's come up often in our life that Silverado is one of your favorite movies. It's not that I'm questioning you. It's just that I just don't recall this ever being a thing. But it's good to know. I feel like I'm getting to know you a bit more today on the pod.
Those are always good moments. Okay, I don't know if you want to go in this category, Beck.
No, I already said I feel like you and Lily wrote these so that I couldn't participate, but whatever, that's fine.
Just move on to comedies. Just do the comedies.
Yeah, just do the comedy.
Those don't even. Lily, you wrote those. They don't make sense for this, so we're not using.
Why don't they make sense?
Because
why don't we let our guests judge? If
okay,
they
fine.
Make
You're
sense?
just going to judge whether or not these make sense. Okay, for this category.
Okay, are these not ensemble movies?
All-star casts. All-star casts.
All-star casts, Lily.
Name
Isn't
me-
an all-star cast the same as an ensemble movie?
So you could do Galaxy Quest, Bridesmaids, and Hangover. Those are all all-star casts, sort of. Maybe.
No,
not really
not at their
Galaxy
time.
Quest.
You know what?
No.
We're doing. Never mind.
I'm gonna move to the next.
Moving on.
All right.
All right. So we all have been talking about all-star cast. Does anyone have an all-star cast movie and premise that they want to pitch? So we have a bit on the show we call Cast ... away, where we recast or play with the casting of a particular show or movie. And then we have another one called Pitch Imperfect, where either you pitch the concept based on a sizzle reel that you've seen, or you pitch a sequel or a spin-off or something like that. So we're going to merge those together. So it's a Castaway, Pitch Imperfect. Does anyone have a cast that they would like to see and a premise?
I do.
Oh, go ahead, Brian. Go
Brian, hit it.
I have a film that I was involved in writing a script for that I'll just pitch it with you guys right now and see if you guys can pick up the option and get a producer behind it.
Becky is a producer.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I produce low-budget documentaries.
This can be a documentary once we think about it. The movie's called Date Filler, and it's about a group of guys that want to start a company that they realize that a lot of people go out on dates, and sometimes the guy might not be able to make it last minute. And so he'll call this company, and instead of standing up the girl and canceling on her, he'll call these guys, and they'll jump in, and they'll fill in on the date just for that evening. So they'll show up, and they'll say hi to the lady, say, hey, sorry, Bill couldn't make it this evening. I'm here just to show you a good time. Don't hold it against Bill. He got caught up in traffic. And give him a call. You can go in with that second date. This is a com-rom more than a rom-comedy, where it's more cheesy and comedy, and hijinks ensue. What we've got is we've got 4 gentlemen who start up this company together. And then, of course, we have 2 ladies that get involved along the way. My leading cast, the lead is going to be Paul Rudd, followed by his number 2 is Michael B. Jordan. Then you kind of got the nerdier guy. I've got Michael Cera. And then the pretty boy, and that's Zac Efron. The pretty boy's problem is when he goes on these dates with the ladies, there is a strict rule of you cannot sleep with the ladies you're on the date with. You're there just to fill in for the guy that they're supposed to be with. If they do, they get their money back. The two women that get involved, our lead character, he is actually dating someone in real life, and they're very close to getting engaged, but he's fear commitment type thing. Eventually, by the end of the film, they finally figure things out. That's played by one Rachel Bilson. I swear to you, I had that written down before I met you guys.
Shy's personally financing the movie at this point.
Yeah.
Let me know when I can get in as an angel investor.
There you go. And then lastly, we have one more girl in here, and she is met on a date, and then they have to break the rules, but she's met by Michael B. Jordan's character, and they actually fall for each other over time, and that's played by Gal Gadot.
Wow.
Jesus. That is quite the cast.
That is an all-star cast. So
I gotta tell you, I am all in on this movie.
yeah, this is.
I would like to see it.
This sounds like a Wedding Crashers with heart, or a Hitch with a little more hijinks.
Yeah.
100%. The hijinks will ensue because some of the dates that these guys get assigned to go to, one guy winds up going to like a retirement community to kind of fill in for a guy who couldn't make it. Another guy, a prom date gets stood up, so he winds up having to fill in and has to wind up going to a high school prom, and then just like regular dates along the way. And then
I have to say, I'm more convinced now that you've given me a few date premises, because I really like those 2 examples.
Those are great examples because you're really thinking out of the box here with what are the scenarios, because these are important things that you would feel like a good guy would feel really badly about having to stand someone up for. So that makes sense to me. That's where the heart's playing. Oh, this is great. Can't wait to see it.
Now, I have a question. Can we get Ike Barinholtz in this movie somehow? Is there a part for him?
Maybe you could switch out Michael Cera for Ike.
Okay. I'm very open at this point, sure.
Okay. I think Ike Barinholtz in these ensemble situations is gold. I think he is one of the funniest people out there.
I now just became very apparent to me, though, that I feel like we need to see Gal Gadot in a
rom-com
romantic comedy.
or com-rom. And there's going to be a Manzukis cameo at some point for sure. You know that, right? At some point he's coming in.
Well, he's the date
like a small
that's scene. 2 guys, and he's the date that is going to get stood up, and one of the guys has to go, and he's a crazy person. And like he wants to like them to go like do those squirrel jumping things where they have to jump off the mountain just like a suit, and I don't know, eat pasta like out of each other's hair, like some Menzuka's crazy shit.
That is awesome. I'd like first of all, that's an awesome.
This was an epic Pitch Imperfect.
Yeah, this is the mic drop
Castaway.
of Pitch Imperfects. I'm just blown away.
I was just gonna pitch Triple Frontier again, same cast. better
movie.
They go back to get the money, and it's a better movie. That's all I was gonna pitch.
That's literally what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, okay, I want to see Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund, and Oberyn. Yeah. Going into the Andes to rescue some money while, chaos ensues. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Wow, Lil, we're so connected.
Well, let's produce Brian's movie first, and then we'll pitch ours to Netflix.
Got it. Agreed. All right, what's up? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tony?
All right, I don't know if I can live up to Brian's hype now. So, but I did have a book that I read in college that I always thought would be good as a movie adaptation. So that popped in my head last night, and I was like, let me cast this out. I've never really thought of casting it out, but so the book is called Three Christs of Ypsilanti. The city I lived in when I went to college was Ypsilanti. It's a very hard name to say or spell, but maybe that'll have to change.
Is that in Pennsylvania?
No, Michigan, southeast Michigan, right down the street from Ann Arbor, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
So the book is about a psychologist. This all took place in that area, that Ann Arbor area, who worked in a mental hospital and realized she had 3 different patients who all claimed they were Jesus. And she decided the therapy she was going to pursue was to actually bring them all together into a room to confront each other to see how that would play out when they all think they're the same person and all thinking they're Jesus. So I'm casting Emily Blunt as the doctor, the psychologist.
Love it.
And then my three Christs will be Jason Momoa, Adam Driver.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Adam Driver and Colin Farrell.
Okay, guys, you should just work in casting. That should be what you do. I'm loving these choices.
So yeah, I think it could be an interesting film and definitely some eye candy at least to watch. So.
My pitch is a little bit, I would say this is all-star, but it's also like, in a sense, it's all-star Comic-Con, because I'm picking 3 icons of the Comic-Con world, and I'd like to see them team up probably in some sort of supernatural meta comedy horror, because I love horror comedy, but I want to see... but it doesn't have to be. It could also be just a workplace comedy, which would also be great. But I want to see Mark Hamill, Bruce Campbell, and Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, together, either in, like I said, either an office space, kind of like 3 old dudes at an ad agency, or perhaps 3 old dudes at an ad agency that gets attacked by demons or monsters or, some sort of again horror comedy splatter but funny, where they can play on their well-known identities.
I hope Netflix or Hulu is listening to this episode, because I think you got a winner there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, Shai. I feel like the world is like hungry for exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And good meaty screen time for all 3 of those guys, and get them together with some chemistry. I think it would be awesome. I bet they all have respect for each other. I know I've seen Robert Englund talk about Bruce Campbell very positively before. I think it would just be a lot of fun.
It's like the First Wives Club, but for like comedy horror movies.
Yeah, exactly. And Hamill, I think that for all of my well-documented distaste for The Last Jedi, Mark Hamill as old Luke Skywalker is one of my favorite things I've seen in a movie in years, and I just can't get enough of him right now in this phase. And
are you gonna watch his new show?
I was gonna ask Brian and Tony, have you guys seen Nightfall? It's on the History Channel. I don't even know where to start.
No, I haven't watched any of the history scripted stuff.
Well, I'm going to try just to see Hamill. Okay, cool. All right, well, now we will come to the part of the show where we do shout-outs, recommendations, something you've been watching, someone you want to shout out to. We'll do them both in one shot here. And I'll start with my sister, Lily. Lily?
Oh, I would like to shout out to, don't make fun of me, Shy, because I don't know this person directly, nor have I interacted with them.
Lily shouts out to famous people, hoping that they'll listen to the show.
I would like to shout out to Liz. I think her last name is pronounced Climo?
Climo?
Maybe?
Like Simi Climo, the guy who went to camp with us?
Maybe. Climo. I'm going to go with Climo. And she's a former illustrator animator for The Simpsons who worked on The Simpsons, I think, for like 10 years and then went off on her own. And she draws these really great little comic vignettes with animals. And I don't remember how I happened upon her, but I bought a bunch of her books, like her comic books. And I'm telling you, like, they are so lovely to read. And, like, they're really cute and really smart. And you can follow her on Instagram.
Doing that right now.
And I just, like, they're a really great pick-me-up. Just kind of, like, I find there's so much shit on the news feeds and on the, like, you know, the digital, like, online newspapers or whatever, and there's, like, so much bad stuff happening, and I just look at her comics and go, oh, like, that's really cute.
That's
really
a great recommendation. Thank you, Lily.
So I think that'll brighten everybody's Instagram feeds if you guys follow her. She is at... I guess it's, you know, I don't know how to read people's things. It's just
Liz Climo, Lizzclimo.
Yeah. Thank you, Shay.
It also says here that she has a greeting card line that's at Target and Walmart, so that might be something you want to check out.
It is because her cards are really funny.
That's cool.
She has calendars, and I bought 2 of her books, and I think they're very cool. And the other Rex, I just want to say, is that I cannot... like if you were, you know, did something under the influence of like drugs or alcohol, you're not really sure you can maybe recommend that experience. I watched 2 movies with my mom, and that's like being under the influence because she is just so funny. And like I watched Isn't It Romantic on Netflix, a Netflix film, which I think is a
oh my God,
Netflix
how
film.
was that? Oh,
it was exactly what you want, like Rebel Wilson turning, you know, tropes on their head, being funny.
I did not realize that was a Netflix film. I am so excited.
See, I don't think it is here. I don't think it's a Netflix film here because we saw it in the theater. Yeah.
You know.
I thought it was a movie in the theater.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, it's direct to Netflix.
Gotta move to Spain.
That's crazy. Oh my God, it's a win for us. Sometimes we are stuck with all this trash, and thank you, Netflix, because nobody's gonna go see that in the theater here. We have very otherworldly ideals of what a woman should look like in a movie, I think, unfortunately, in this country. So they're not quite up with the Me Too and the Jamila, like, you know, body image for women.
I-Way movement.
The I-Way movement, which is awesome. It was awesome to see Rebel Wilson in that movie, just leading a movie and being hilarious. Is it the best rom-com ever? No, but I saw it with Mom, so in my mind it is now because Mom loved it. And Adam Devine, like seriously, I could have a little Adam Devine.
Put him in anything. Put him in anything. He's adorable.
And then I watched The Spy Who Dumped Me with Mom. Oh my God, like amazing. To watch that film with our mom, it makes you think you're watching like Mission Impossible, but like so funny.
Wait, so you videoed Mom reacting to the...
I did. You guys didn't respond.
No. It was so amazingly funny.
Videos.
I just wonder, is it something we can post? Because it is so hilarious watching Mom.
I will ask her because I think she didn't like it that much because then as I'm watching the movie later, I turn around and she's just filming me. And she's like, see, do you like that? And I was like, nobody would think this is funny, Mom. I know. I was like, Mom, it's only, delete that video. It's only funny when you do it. I'm like, seriously. She's like, fine. I'll ask her because she was just cackling. So yeah, those, and I'm watching Umbrella Academy with her. It's amazing because I'm watching it with her. So I'm sorry that all of you can't watch TV with our mom, but Umbrella Academy, I thought it's great.
I'm so happy you're enjoying it. Dude, we'll have a follow-up convo once you and I...
It's a fun 10 episodes, you know, like if you're not invested in anything too deep, I think you could watch it with kids. Like, Tony, I think it's interesting. You said you had like a 10-year-old-ish. I wonder if you could watch that with a 10-year-old. Again, I said I don't know the rules above 3 years old, but...
It's pretty violent.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it is a pretty violent one.
Is it?
But he's seen worse. He's seen worse.
Okay, so, you know, or maybe it's got good lessons about siblings and family, I think, in the end. So I'm enjoying it.
Brian, what you got?
I don't know. I'm going to throw a recommendation for my favorite band of all time, I just got to see them live 2 nights ago in the Baltimore area. They're actually from Virginia. They're called Carbon Leaf.
Oh, I've seen those guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
awesome. They kind of started off as like an Irish rock band. They've evolved a little bit to kind of Irish alternate, like kind of alt rock. They just celebrated their 25th year anniversary, which is now this year. I wound up talking my brother's sister and my brother's girlfriend into finally coming to see them live. I've been trying for 10 years now. I got to get them out, and they ended the show with coming off the stage. I'd never seen them do this before. Walk into the crowd, and they do an acoustic, 2 songs to finish up just acoustically, and they stopped literally 6 inches away from me. In fact, the lead singer he legit had to push me back a little bit, like, give me some space, pal. And I was like, no, I don't want to give you some space, favorite band lead singer.
So it's like you with like Becky with Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think he was eating a bunch of cheese at the time.
Now they toured once supporting Counting Crows, right? Because I'm pretty sure I saw them at 9:30 supporting Counting Crows once.
That's awesome.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm a big fan, and so I'm going to try and throw them some love to make them finally popular after 25 years.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's great. We're music fans. We don't do a ton of music on the show, but we do it occasionally, and music recommendations are more than welcome. That's awesome. All right, Becky, what or Tony or Becky, whichever one of you. Hey.
Oh, go ahead, Becky.
Okay, so I've seen a bunch of stuff lately because I've been on planes traveling for work. So I'm gonna say I started watching the Ricky Gervais show on Netflix, Afterlife. I am enjoying it quite a bit. I'm gonna keep watching it. Also started Turn Up Charlie, which is the Idris Elba comedy on Netflix.
Whoa!
But I can tell you,
good reviews.
I am definitely watching it because Idris Elba is in it. No real other reason.
Idris Elba, who will be playing McCavity in the Cats the Musical movie version that I'm staying on top of for this podcast.
I feel like as long as you
I
love
feel like
Idris
Cats
Elba,
doesn't need you to like give them this much PR.
like
they're
you're
fine.
really into cats. It comes up a lot. Okay, so I feel like if you're into Idris Elba, watch the show. If you're not into him, you won't care. Then I saw the documentary from a while back, 3 Identical Strangers. I'm just gonna leave it hanging in the air. When you guys see it, we can talk about it.
I really want to see it.
I liked the film, but I definitely had a problem at the end of the film with kind of the way
the reveal.
No, not with the reveal. With I think like filmmaking choices. I think the filmmakers drew some conclusions or connected some dots, and in a biased way that I was not comfortable with as like a filmmaker. And so I actually kind of had a problem with it at the end. And I finally saw Zootopia on my flight. I was like inspired. I'm going to watch this movie.
That's a great movie.
So good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I was all in on that movie from the beginning.
I am just all in on that movie. Anyway, so that's my recent watches. That's all I got. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I totally piggyback what you said about 3 Identical Strangers. That was overlooked for the Oscars this year. Should have at least been nominated. That was a crime that it wasn't, because it was a great documentary. Sorry, excuse me. My recommendation for the week, though, is Us. I just got a chance to see this on Friday.
Wow.
If you're a fan of Jordan Peele at all from Get Out, it's definitely worth your time. Go check it out. It's a little more gory and a little more kind of sci-fi-ish than Get Out is. Get Out was a little more dramatic and more kind of political commentary, I think, but this is a little, skews a little more sci-fi, a little more gore.
Is it as good?
I still prefer Get Out if I had to rank the two, but I do. Okay. I enjoyed it a lot, so it's definitely worth going to check out.
Wholehearted rec. So that's
Lupita Nyong'o gives a fantastic performance, probably the best I've ever seen. I don't know why she hasn't been a lead actress really before in anything. I mean, even 12 Years a Slave, she's not the lead. I mean, she was recognized, with the Oscar. It's a good point. But she needs to get more roles like this, so I'm hoping this opens the door for her, because she gives an amazing performance. Everybody in the film really does, because they're all tasked with kind of playing dual roles, and I love how they do that. Some great child actors in here. Sometimes that can really make or break a movie, but they all really did a fantastic job. So yeah, it's definitely worth your time. Go check out Us.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Does that leave me?
Yes.
I'll just first of all, I'm gonna recommend Take Two podcast. You guys have been amazing guests, and people who especially want something. So if you like our podcast, but you want something that actually is up to date with whatever is actually happening in the movie and television culture, and
where they do research,
and really, the Take Two guys, I'm always amazed at how much, again, how well structured and how much you guys pack in, and how timely you are with everything. It's like a great way to stay on top of everything that's happening, and you guys have great insights, and you are not snooty. You're down to earth. Like, it's real people reviewing movies. This isn't like critics like sipping tea and coffee and debating existentialism, but with tremendous insights. And also, if you're a CW fan, which I am a huge CW fan, you guys are the place to follow CW stuff. So my recommendation goes to Tony and Brian and the rest of the crew.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this work.
And my wife and I will be going to see a live WWE performance on April 1st. The Raw is coming, and I've never seen it before, but I'm intermittently fascinated with wrestling. So we decided to go. So to prep, I'm going to be tuning into your wrestling show. There
you go. I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that. Yeah.
I heard one of your wrestling apps, and I was like, oh my God. I know nothing. And this is not my realm.
Yeah, definitely not.
Shai has found a kindred spirit here. And maybe if Shai listens to these segments, he'll stop sending me WWE videos.
Oh, nope, he's never going to stop.
No,
it's like a whole other game he plays, sending us that junk.
Yet.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with specifically I don't know if I even like watching I can sit through the show, like the matches, but I love analysis of it and discussion about the industry and like who's considered great and why they're considered great, and the whole notion of putting someone over in heels and faces and all that stuff. Like, I love the whole lore of it all, and so I send my sisters these like top 10 heels from the 1980s and make that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I jumped away from wrestling. I used to love it in the 80s and all that, but a more current recommendation, if you're interested, is to see Fighting with My Family, that movie.
Oh, did you see that?
Yeah.
Me and Brian both saw it, and we really enjoyed it a lot. Even if you're not current into sports, I think it's just a great story, great sports movie, and everybody in it gives great performances. The Rock has some nice little cameos in there. It was a lot of fun.
That's great.
Cool.
That's great. Cool. All right. Well,
the wrestling community is. Oh, sorry. I was saying the wrestling community is huge. We, the wrestling guys that do our show, our little spinoff that they do, the wrestling spinoff show specific. They asked early on when we had the Take Two if they could just mooch in for a little while they learned how to podcast and whatnot, and we just haven't been able to get rid of them since. So we're happy to have them.
That's awesome. That's really great. So where can people follow you guys?
Go ahead, John.
Oh, well, all of our socials, you can search Take Two Podcast, that's TOO, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're very active on all three, and we try to present something a little bit different on every, aspect of it as well. And right now we're actually in the middle of a big social push with our March Madness bracket. We've decided to do a little throwback bracket, and we put all of our hosts' favorites from 1989 against the 1999 films, and we're doing a daily vote, and we're going to work down to which is the best film of 89 and put it against the best film of 99.
Of your platforms, Instagram is my favorite one. I love the bracket that you're doing, but I also love just the little Instagram lives and videos you guys do when you're going to and from the movies, like the little snap reviews.
Although usually those are terrible. I hate doing them. I hate being on camera. I think I'm awful at them. I think the last one I did, I was like, I'd only been awake for about a half hour, and it was super windy, and I'm like, this is terrible, but whatever.
I really love those. I really love when I'm like, oh, Brian's at the movies. Awesome. Yeah. Curious what he's like, oh, he's going in. All right, in a few hours, I'm going to find out what he thought of it.
Good. I'm glad somebody's watching them.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely me. All right, Lily and Becky, or do you guys want any other are there any other follows individual that you want to push?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Right, cool.
I push most of, at least as far as movies and all that stuff, is all through those accounts. So
cool. All right,
you'll find our personal ones through there as well.
Okay, cool, awesome. Lily, where can people follow you?
Chichi K. Gomez on Twitter.
And Becky, where can people follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at Paper, BK Princess.
And you can follow me at Pancake, the number 4, table on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow all the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at FridayNightMoviePod.com. You can catch everyone who is on this podcast today will be at the All-Star Comic-Con. We'll be podcasting, I'm sure. I'm sure that we'll end up doing little guest spots with each other at different times, enjoying the community of that. And that's June 7th, 8th, and 9th. 8th and 9th are the big open con days where you can come up and hang at the booths and whatnot. And with that, the music from What Does It Eat will pipe in, which is not really going to, because at this point, I don't think I should be able to make it pipe in, but live. But I'll edit it in afterwards, and everyone will dance, and we'll say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you guys so much for coming. It was so great.
This was a great episode. Thank you. It was so much fun.